The impact shook the entire eastern wing. Dust rained from the ceiling as the lights flickered, momentarily revealing the claw marks etched into the reinforced walls. Deep inside Kael'varn Penal Bastion, both inmates and guards froze. Something had just slammed into the old lava bed above cell block Omega. A blinking red alert scrolled across the wall screen. Unscheduled arrival. Class 15 bioform. Clear area. Inside the control tower, Warden Corthale Vex leaned forward. His 6 black eyes narrowed, mandibles twitching in calculated anticipation. Open a feed. I want full visual on the insertion zone. A moment later, grainy footage appeared. A crater hissed steam under the red sky of Korik's IX's volcanic wastes. At the center stood a solitary figure, brushing debris from his armored jumpsuit. Human. No escort. No shackles. Just boots on obsidian rock and silence. The guards watching the feed murmured. They sent one. No way that's standard procedure. He's unarmed. He doesn't look worried. Inside the crater, Elias Creed rolled his shoulders and exhaled. His helmet retracted with a soft hiss. Pale scars ran down his neck and jaw, a roadmap of violence and survival. His expression was unreadable, calm, but too still, like a predator that hadn't decided yet what to kill. Audio feed active? Vex asked. Yes, Warden. Creed tilted his head upward, locking eyes with the nearest overhead drone. Kael'varn, huh? He said, voice low and gravel-edged. Let's see what hell looks like from the inside. By the time he reached the outer gates, 20 plasma rifles were trained on him. On your knees, human, barked the lead Zyrani guard. Creed didn't move. Don't waste your breath. If I wanted to start something, we wouldn't be having this conversation. They hesitated. He watched them, unblinking. Eventually, one guard stepped forward, gun still raised. Strip down. Scan show contaminants. He complied without a word, peeling off layers of insulated armor. Beneath, his skin bore strange discolorations, residue from radiation zones, biochemical exposure, and the bite of too many alien battlefields. His body was a map of human stubbornness and planetary hostility. Species classification: Homo sapiens, droned the AI. Origin: Earth. Death world rating: Class 15. Threat potential: adaptive. Psychological status: unknown. Vex watched it unfold from his tower. Send him to Omega isolation, he ordered. No orientation. No speech. Let him feel the teeth first. The first challenge came before Creed even crossed the threshold of the block. A methane breather named Drownox, 8 feet of armor-plated muscle, stepped into his path. This is Drownox's corridor, he said in broken common. Walk around or bleed. Creed glanced at the floor, then at Drownox's feet. Bad tactical position. Creed murmured, What? Drownox sneered. Creed stepped forward and in one seamless motion drove his elbow into the creature's respiratory folds. Drownox staggered. Creed twisted, slammed a knee into the side of his head, and let him collapse unconscious, twitching. The hallway fell silent. Inmates stared from behind their bars. No one moved. Creed kept walking. Cell Omega. 9 had no bed, no sink, no light. Just recycled air, a floor drain, and 3 cameras. The door closed with a metallic sigh. He stood in the center for a moment, eyes adjusting, breathing slow and even. Then he sat cross-legged on the floor, facing the wall, and shut his eyes. Hours passed. Then days. No food. No contact. Light cycled randomly, denying him sleep. The air turned cold, then hot, then humid. Psychological pressure. Standard galactic tactics for inmate compliance. Creed didn't react. He exercised silently, used the drain for hydration when needed, and meditated through the sensory chaos. Inside the control center, some guards started to whisper, This isn't normal. Anyone else would be crying or screaming by now. He's not breaking. He's adjusting. On the 4th day, the cell opened. Without a word, a guard shoved a tray of nutrient gel inside. Creed stared at it, then calmly pushed it back. The guard blinked. What? No poison checks. No ID. Not touching it. That's all you're getting. then you've got a problem. He stood again and returned to the center of the cell. By day 6, they move him into general population. Elias Creed walked into the central block, an open space where prisoners gathered, bartered, and fought. Conversations died the moment he entered. Scary, the insectoid with shimmering chitin, watched from a bench. The deathworlder. He clicked to no one in particular. Let's see what kind of human they sent this time. Creed made no introductions. He took a seat at an empty table and began disassembling the rusted stool beneath him. Using a chipped panel and metal sliver, he began fashioning a small multi-tool. It wasn't a weapon. Not yet. A group of inmates approached. Species unknown humanoid, lean and twitchy. The largest one grinned. You think you're something special, Earth meat? Creed didn't look up. I know I am. They moved in. He let them come close, let them believe he was slow. Then 2 movements. One dropped, throat crushed by a strike, so fast camera barely caught it. The second, disarmed with a wrist twist and cracked knee. The rest scattered. Creed returned to his seat and kept working. In the control tower, Vex stood silent. He's not dominating by force, said a junior analyst. He's choosing when to strike. Surgical. Cold. Vex turned, voice flat. Send in the siphon units next time he eats. Sir, that's classified interrogation tech. Do it. Back in Block Omega, Elias sat in his cell as the lights dimmed. The walls vibrated with faint mechanical humming, the kind that preceded something unpleasant. Scary approached his bars, speaking softly. You are different. They dropped others before. Loud, violent, broken within days. Elias opened one eye. I'm not here to prove anything. Then why are you here? He didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his boot, pulled out a tiny charred metal locket, and turned it over in his palm. Scari's mandibles clicked softly. Something to remember? Someone. Creed slid the locket away. Above, Warden Vex stared at the screens. This human, he's not surviving the system. He's adapting to it, turning it into something else. No one in the control room disagreed. The deathworlder wasn't breaking. He was getting comfortable. Kael'Varn's social structure had one rule: belong to someone or get crushed by everyone. Inmates here didn't survive by strength alone. Alliances were mandatory. Alien gangs control food, air filters, and access to black market meds. Refuse their protection, and you became target practice. Elias Creed refused. On his second day in Gen Pop, he sat alone again. Same table, same posture, back to the wall, eyes watching everything without staring. He ate nothing, spoke to no one. Scary, watching from above, tilted his head, unaligned already. That won't last. 2 inmates, both Glorn, tall, armored, reptilian, moved to flank him. One held a sharpened shard of polyglass, the other a tension wire. Not amateurs. Creed didn't flinch. He leaned forward slightly, hands folded. You're from cell block 7, right? He asked calmly. They froze. You're missing 3 fingers, he said to the one on the right. Acid burns. Explosives expert, probably. Would have used the wire first if he thought I had implants. The Glorn hesitated. Creed stood, not fast, not slow, controlled. Let me guess. You're here to send a message. No answer. He stepped closer. Tell whoever sent you they're wasting their time. I'm not joining anyone's tribe. You think you can walk this place alone? The left one spat, coiling the wire tighter. No, Elias said. I know I can. Then he moved. The glass wielder lunged first. Predictable. Creed sidestepped, caught the wrist, slammed it into the edge of the table. Bone cracked. The glass skittered away. The wire came next, arcing toward his throat. He ducked low, swept the Glorn's legs, then drove a boot into his ribs with practiced violence. Both attackers lay groaning on the floor seconds later. Creed adjusted his jacket and walked away without a word. The next morning, something unusual happened. A tray of food appeared on his table before he arrived. No guards, no label, just waiting. He stood over for a moment. Skari approached cautiously. A gift, he said. Someone wants peace. Food means strings. Elias said, perhaps, but it also means they see your value. Creed sat, but didn't touch the tray. That's their first mistake. By noon, rumors flooded the prison. The human didn't eat, didn't sleep in the dorms, didn't bleed when hit. He'd broken into Glorn without even sweating. Some said he was a test, others an executioner. A few whispered he wasn't from a death world. He was one. Vetch, the Zyrellian guard, leaned near a console, watching footage from the mess hall. He's not posturing like the others, he muttered. Not yet, said another guard. Vetch narrowed his eyes. No, he's observing, calculating, like us. Later that day, Elias found himself facing another test, but not from enemies. A quiet voice behind him. You fix things? Creed turned. The speaker was a youth, a feathered quadruped species with bright, flickering eyes. One of its winged limbs trembled. Metallic support fractured. He nodded toward the limb. What happened? Fight. Guard said it's low priority. Sit down, Elias said. The creature hesitated, then complied. Elias pulled out the crude tool he'd fashioned from recycled stool legs and wiring. Quietly, he began patching the joint. You know how to fix this? The kid asked. I've repaired worse with less, Elias said. Just hold still. When it was done, the creature flexed a limb. You didn't even ask my name. I need it. You're not like the others. Elias shrugged. Neither are you. The kid smiled and vanished into the crowd. That night, Skari returned, carrying 2 water rations. You've made enemies, he said. Everyone here's already an enemy. No, you've made others uncomfortable. You don't fit their pattern. You're not afraid, but you're not conquering. That confuses them. Creed accepted the water, but said nothing. Why are you really here, human? Because someone wanted to see what happens when you drop a death worlder into a system built on fear. And Elias looked him in the eye. I'm starting to see cracks. Meanwhile, in the upper command level, Warden Vex reviewed surveillance logs with surgical focus. He should have joined one of the factions by now, Vex muttered. His kind needs control, needs dominance. Warden, he's engaging differently, said a systems analyst. Minimal aggression, strategic interaction, low volatility. Vex's mandibles twitched. He's trying to reshape the prison. Subtle, dangerous. What are your orders? Advance the protocol. Cut his water. Rotate his sleep cycles. I want fatigue and dehydration to do what fear couldn't. The next 4 days were a war of attrition. Sleep deprivation lights cycled every 90 minutes. Water came every 36 hours. Rations? Denied. Background noise piped into the cell. Screams, static, broken transmissions. Any lesser being would have snapped. Elias endured. He moved slower. Yes, dark circles bloomed beneath his eyes. But he never begged, never asked. He meditated, stretched, pushed his body to remain still through the chaos. The other inmates noticed. In the silence between sirens, the legends grew louder. On day 9, the lights died for 12 seconds. Just enough for Elias to scrawl a message inside his cell wall, using the sharpened edge of a broken food tray. It read, break the pattern. Skari saw it first. Vetch paused by Elias's cell, studying him through the reinforced glass. You know we're watching everything. I'm counting on it. Why not fight back? Creed leaned toward the glass. You don't fix a broken engine by throwing fire at it. You get inside it, find the flaw, and make it fail from within. Vetch hesitated, then walked away. But he didn't report the conversation. That night, someone left a full water canister outside Elias's door. No camera saw who. The mess hall had never been so quiet. Elias Creed sat at his usual table. His tray was untouched, filled with high-calorie scent paste that looked like concrete and smelled worse. Around him, the entire room watched, waited. No one dared approach. The Glorn bruiser who tried to break his arm 3 days ago now limped past with his head down. A gang of insectoid threats slithered into the shadows whenever Elias moved. He hadn't raised a fist since that first fight, but he didn't need to anymore. Scary sat across from him, glancing around. They fear you. That's power. I didn't come here for power, Elias said, tapping his fingers lightly against the table. Power only matters when it changes something. Scary tilted his head. Change what? This place doesn't change. Not really. Creed's gaze locked with his. Then it breaks. The prison, officially called Kael'Varn Containment Sector 9, was never designed for rehabilitation. It was engineered to hold the worst from across the Tri-Sector alliances. Assassins, war criminals, species deemed biologically uncontrollable. No one expected inmates to survive here. That was the point. And yet, some did. They survived by adapting, becoming animals or tyrants. But Creed was neither. He was something else. Something that didn't fit the system's gears. In the workshop, deep beneath the dormitories, Vetch found him again. Creed was elbow-deep inside a malfunctioning filtration unit. Stripped to his waist, skin streaked with oil and grime. The machine wheezed like a dying lung. You're not on maintenance duty, Vetch said. No one is, Elias replied. This thing's dazed from flooding half the wing with neurotoxic mold spores. Vetch crossed his arms. You could let it fail. Let people suffer. I could, Elias said, tightening a valve. But broken things aren't useless. They just need someone to care enough to fix them. You talking about the machine or the people? Creed glanced up. Both. That same night, 2 guards, new recruits, poorly trained, tried to jump Elias during lights out. They'd been promised credits and rank. The plan was simple. Take him out quietly, make it look like suicide. It didn't go as planned. When the alarms blared, Scary arrived first. One guard was unconscious, the other trapped in a chokehold, his wrist bent at a perfect, paralyzing angle. Creed didn't look angry. He looked tired. You're not prisoners, he said to the guards. So why are you acting like them? Scary stared. They're not following Warden Vex's orders. They're following the fear. Warden Vex watched the footage from his surveillance deck. Fingers twitching, mandibles flexing. He refuses to follow the behavioral curve, he hissed. This is an adaptation. It's corrosion. He's making allies out of guards. He's repairing systems meant to fail. Sir, his analyst offered carefully, there's been a reduction in cell violence. Fewer riots. Less resource theft. Exactly, Vex snapped. He's unbalancing the model. Stability was never the goal. So what now? Vex leaned in. We reset the pressure. The reset came fast. First, the water rations were cut again, but only for the allies of Creed. Then came random lockdowns, lights flickering erratic, sleep-breaking bursts. The noise systems blared screaming static. Recreation time slashed to 5 minutes. Ventilation slowed. Food quality dropped. It was silent war. Creed endured it all. But now, others were suffering too. The kid with the prosthetic wing limped again, shaking from dehydration. A medic inmate who'd started helping Creed circle was caught and beaten. Scary cornered him in the corridor, voice low and urgent. They're targeting anyone near you. Elias looked down at his cracked knuckles. I know. They're testing how much pain it takes to make you stop. Creed's voice dropped to a whisper. I'm testing how long it takes to make them break their own rules. Then something truly unexpected happened. A group of guards, 6 in total, disobeyed orders. They brought clean water, quietly, discreetly, in storage bins marked as scrap. One of them was Vetch. You're not subtle, Creed told him as they unloaded the hidden containers. I'm not trying to be, Vetch replied. You made people care, even in here. That doesn't happen. I didn't make them care, Elias said. I reminded them they still could. Word spread, quietly, deliberately, through pipes, vents, guards, and prisoners. They started calling him the fixer, not the warrior, not the deathworlder, not the killer, the one who made broken things work again. The kid with the prosthetic now flew short glides in the corridors, thanks to a tune-up from Elias. A Glorn inmate patched a wall panel to siphon power to the lower dorms after watching Elias build a converter. Two rival factions called a ceasefire, temporary, tense, but a ceasefire nonetheless. Something was shifting. Scari said it best. This prison was built to fracture. You've turned it into a puzzle that wants to solve itself. Creed didn't smile, but his voice held a spark. Even broken machines tick, if you wind them right. Warden Vex, seething, initiated Protocol Ashfall. It was never meant to be used. An emergency lockdown involving neural dampeners, climate instability, artificial gravity surges, and lethal accidental discharges in the hallway turrets. Total system breakdown. If the machine couldn't be restored to chaos, it would be burned to the ground. At 0300, the lights went out. Then the gravity shifted. Half the wing lifted off their bunks mid-sleep, crashing to the floor. Screams followed. Turrets sparked to life in the eastern corridor. 2 inmates were vaporized before Scari disabled the panel. Creed moved like lightning, herding prisoners into the reinforced maintenance shaft he'd mapped weeks earlier. Vetch sealed the blast doors behind them. Was this your plan? Scari panted. No, Creed said. This is theirs. But now we do what they don't expect. What's that? We fight for each other. The ventilation shaft echoed with strained breathing and the grind of twisted metal. Elias Creed moved first, shoulders hunched low, his boots sliding quietly over rust-lined steel. Behind him, Scari followed, clutching the wounded Threx medic. Her leg burned from an energy burst. Further back, a small chain of prisoners and 2 row guards moved with tense urgency. Keep low, Elias whispered. Sensors will be blind here for exactly 90 seconds. They'll recalibrate, Vetch warned. They always do, Elias muttered. That's why we move before they remember how. He dropped into a crawl space that fed into the subreactor chamber, one of the few sections Vex's override hadn't completely corrupted. The emergency lights flickered red, casting elongated shadows over his grease-streaked arms as he keyed in the code he shouldn't have known. Scari watched, wide-eyed. You memorized bypass protocols for the entire substructure? No, Creed said flatly, tapping the final sequence. Just the ones they didn't think anyone from Earth would understand. With a hiss, the lower panel slid open. The group filed in quickly. Inside the chamber, a low hum filled the air. Thick conduits pulsed with energy, still alive beneath Vex's lockdown. Here, in this forgotten skeleton of Kael'Varn, Elias Creed had a plan. Not revenge, not escape, exposure. I need 5 minutes with the auxiliary uplink, Creed said, moving to the back wall. Vetch, cover the entry. Scari, monitor comms. If any frequency spikes, warn me. Vetch adjusted his plasma baton. What are you trying to access? Proof. Scari frowned. Proof of what? That everything happening in here, targeted assaults, neural suppression, environmental hazards, wasn't malfunction. It was design. The console resisted at first. Layers of administrative code snarled around it like vines. Elias cracked his knuckles, exhaled, and started pulling it apart line by line. Each protocol he dismantled revealed more. Flag names, selective rationing orders, acceleration of psychological stress routines. It was all there, clean, documented, cold. I knew it. Vetch muttered behind him. Vex wanted the prison to fail. No, Elias corrected. He wanted it to feed, to create cycles of collapse and blame it on us. Scari's eyes narrowed. What do we do with it? Creed paused, stared at the screen. We show it to the galaxy. The plan was bold. Insane, some might say. But that's what the system never planned for. Coordinated action from people it deemed broken. Vetch rerouted the internal surveillance to Elias's feed, disguising connection as maintenance checks. Scari and the medic rigged a pulse amplifier using scrap from the turrets. The human inmate with cybernetic implants, nicknamed Spark, offered to carry the uplink spike through the electrical grid himself. You'll be electrocuted, Elias warned. Spark grinned. I've been electrocuted before. Last time I came out smarter. Barely, Scari muttered. The human chuckled. That's fair. 2 hours later, the broadcast began. Across 3 sectors, Kael'Varn's internal feed was hijacked. It started with a low-frequency hum. Then a voice. This is Elias Creed. Human. Class, 15 Deathworlder. Inmate 001-73 Kale. You don't know me, but you know this prison. You've heard the stories. The riots. The deaths. The monsters. They weren't monsters. They were experiments. Every screen flashed data, prisoner profiles, manipulation routines, maintenance neglect reports, executions labeled as suicides. Faces scrolled past, guards who resisted orders and vanished, medics who questioned protocols and were reassigned off-record. We weren't meant to survive, and those who did weren't meant to speak. In the central tower, Warden Vex's scream rattled the control panels. Cut the feed. Technicians scrambled, but the core systems were no longer listening to him. Inside the subreactor, Elias leaned back, sweat glistening on his forehead. He didn't smile. Not yet. How long? Scari asked. Long enough, Creed replied. It's out. Sector 9's secrets are exposed. Good, Vetch muttered. Now what? Before Elias could answer, the floor shuddered. Then again, louder. They're venting the lower decks, Spark said. Manual override. Vex is collapsing the entire quadrant. Elias's jaw tightened. He'd kill everyone just to silence the truth. The medic limped over. Then we can't stay here. No, Elias said, standing up. We're done hiding. They moved fast. Through emergency shafts, through boiler tunnels laced with steam. They surged upward toward the surface deck. Alarms blared. Automated defenses twitched to life. But now the inmates had a path, a purpose. Some guards joined them. Others didn't dare oppose them. Word had spread. The fixer wasn't just fixing machines anymore. He was fixing everything. Elias kicked down a hatch into the upper transport bay. The landing pad flickered in the distance. Automated dropships idling in wait. Scari stopped. You planning to escape? Elias shook his head. No. He pointed upward. We're inviting guests. Above them, in orbit, communication satellites lit up with new data. Every relay bounced a message to neutral outposts, civilian colonies, news hubs, and someone somewhere was listening. The kind of someone who asks questions when people disappear. In the warden's private deck, Vex tore through commands, trying to sever the uplink. They'll investigate, his aide warned. They'll find everything. No, Vex hissed. They'll find ashes. That's all I'll leave them. He activated Protocol Ninefold, a full structure collapse. Elias stood at the center of the landing platform as the structure trembled. The dropships powered down, overridden by Vex lockout. Fire licked the horizon. Behind him, prisoners and guards alike looked to him for instruction. Scari approached, eyes flickering with quiet panic. We're out of time. Creed stepped forward, raised a plasma torch, and pointed it skyward. You wanted silence, he whispered toward the prison walls. But now the galaxy is listening. The structure groaned beneath their boots. Metal plates buckled as explosions thudded deep below, each one closer than the last. Smoke bled to the grated floor, curling like fingers grasping for breath. Elias Creed stood at the edge of the landing platform, wind whipping across his face, firelight flickering in his eyes. Behind him, dozens of inmates, some still wearing shackles, others armed with scavenged gear, waited. Among them were guards, too, quiet and pale, their loyalty dissolved in the acid truth of what this place had done. Scari reached him first. Vex activated collapse, she said. We got maybe 15 minutes before this entire level drops into molten core. Creed didn't blink. We just need 10. Vetch came limping through the blast doors. 10 for what? We got no ships, no uplink, and the whole prison's collapsing under us. You said we were inviting guests. Well, they're late. They're coming, Elias said calmly. I gave them something they couldn't ignore. Scari narrowed her eyes. Who exactly did you contact? Elias didn't answer immediately. He pulled a small, unassuming data spike from his belt. Before I was dropped here, I planted a trace on the command frequencies of every council official who signed off on Kael'Varn. The spike carries that signal. Every word Vex said in his office. Every experiment log. Every scream logged as ambient noise. Scary looked away. And you're sure they'll act? No, he said, but I made sure everyone heard it. The first atmospheric tremor hit like a distant thunderclap. Then the clouds split. A shadow cut across the sky, broad, angular, and unmistakably military. The Terran defense frigate Resolute Dawn broke through Kael'Varn's artificial storm system like a blade through rotten silk. It was flanked by two smaller ships, neutral observers, their hulls unarmed but their intent clear. The prison's failing orbital defenses tried to lock on. They were too late. In seconds, precision strikes crippled the defense towers, melting gun arrays before they could spin. Docking clamps disengaged. Emergency corridors lit up across the platform. Doors unlocked. Spark call from the comms panel. They're giving us an extraction route. Vetch laughed, the sound hoarse and sharp. You really pulled them here. The Terrans. You mad bastard. Elias exhaled once. We're not out yet. As the group surged toward the evac corridor, the floor behind them cracked. Flames surged upward in a geyser of pressure and shrapnel. One inmate stumbled, an older avian with frostbite scars across his face. Elias turned, yanked him forward, and kept him upright. No one left behind, he growled. They reached the final blast doors, now open and glowing with emergency lighting. Terra Marines in dark armor waited just beyond, weapons drawn, but not raised. They scanned the group, then nodded. Creed, one barked. Here, get in. Transport window is closing fast. Scary paused at the threshold. What happens to everyone else? They board, Elias said. Same rights, same voices. They're not shadows anymore. And you, I'll follow. Inside the ship, chaos and order danced side by side. Medics tended to wounded. Engineers patched up melted plating on the fly. A central command screen displayed Kael'Varn's crumbling layout in grim detail. Elias stood silently in the middle, watching it all. Your broadcast lit up half the interlink. A voice said behind him. He turned to see a Terran officer, slim, graying, with the insignia of an admiral. Her eyes didn't blink much. You said they'd come, she continued. Didn't expect you'd make it so easy to prove the council was dirty. Elias didn't smile. It wasn't easy. No, she agreed. But it was loud. That's good. Loud gets attention. Will they face consequences? The admiral folded her arms. Enough of the galaxy saw what you sent. They'll have to answer. Elias nodded. Then I want one thing. Name it. He pointed toward the screen, where Kael'Varn slowly crumbled into itself. Keep the feed running until the lights go out. Let the galaxy watch every inch of your fall. The admiral tilted her head. Why? So no one ever builds another. As the last prisoner was loaded aboard and Kael'Varn cracked in two like a dead husk, Elias stood alone in the viewing bay. Scary found him there, arms folded. You're not celebrating. Not much left to celebrate yet. But you did it. You exposed them. I started something, he said quietly. Now we'll see if anyone finishes it. She stepped closer, her voice softer. You could have left. Burned this place down and walked away. Why fight for people you didn't even know? Elias turned to her. Because I was one of them once. 3 days later, a Senate inquiry launched. 7 council members were suspended. 2 were arrested. And the footage from Kael'Varn? It played across every major feed loop on civilized planets for 12 standard hours. No cuts. No edits. Just the truth. Elias Creed didn't return to Earth. Instead, he joined the Interstellar Watchdog Unit that formed in Kael'Varn's wake, an unarmed civilian group with one job. Go where prisons had no walls and justice had no voice. His first assignment? A mining penal colony on Drexos 3. No press. No visitors. A place where silence had reigned too long. As he boarded the scout ship, Scary radioed in from orbit. You sure about this? Never, Elias said, stepping through the hatch. But someone has to go first. She chuckled. Deathworlder instincts? No, he said, smiling faintly. Just human.